My sister Vanessa stood in the center of our aunt's living room and pointed her finger directly at me like I had committed murder. Nina sold Mom's jewelry, she announced to everyone. She took it to a pawn shop. The room fell silent. 12 family members turned their heads toward me at the exact same moment. My uncle's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. My cousin stopped scrolling through her phone. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. Vanessa crossed her arms tightly across her chest. Her face looked angry, but her eyes looked scared. "Don't act innocent," she said loudly. "Our mother had died exactly 3 weeks ago. The house still smelled like her rose perfume. Her coffee mug still sat unwashed in the kitchen sink. And now my sister was telling everyone I robbed her. "That's not true," I said. But Vanessa shook her head slowly like she pitied me. "I checked Mom's jewelry box yesterday morning," she continued. "Every single piece is gone." Gasps filled the room like air being sucked out. My cousin whispered something to her husband. My chest felt tight. I hadn't touched one single piece of that jewelry. But nobody was looking at Vanessa anymore. Everyone was staring at me. Vanessa wasn't finished talking. "I know exactly where she took it," she said. Her voice got louder with each word. "Golden Gate Pawn Shop on 4th Street. My mouth opened but no words came out. My uncle stood up slowly. His chair scraped against the wooden floor. "Nina," he said in a cold voice. "Is this true?" "No," I said quickly. But my voice sounded weak even to myself. Vanessa pulled out her phone and held it up for everyone to see. "I called the shop this morning," she announced. "They confirmed someone named Nina brought jewelry there last Tuesday." The room exploded with shocked whispers. My aunt covered her mouth with both hands. My cousin's husband shook his head in disgust. "I didn't go there," I said louder this time. Vanessa tilted her head to the side. "Then why would they say your name?" Good question. A very good question that I couldn't answer right now. My uncle walked closer to me. "Nina, we need the truth," he said firmly. And just like that, my entire family had already decided I was guilty. My mother's jewelry wasn't just expensive. It was our family's history. The gold bracelet came from my great-grandmother who wore it through the Great Depression. The ruby ring was something my father bought Mom before he died from cancer. The pearl necklace was the one she wore every single Sunday to church for 30 years. None of it was flashy or showy. But together, those pieces were worth over $60,000. And Vanessa knew that exact amount. She had the house keys, Vanessa told everyone. Nina was the only person going in and out of Mom's place. "Because you asked me to clean it," I shot back. Vanessa shrugged like that meant nothing. "And now everything valuable is gone," she said. My aunt stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "Nina, sweetheart, if you needed money you could have just asked us for help." "I didn't sell anything," I repeated. My cousin's husband leaned forward in his chair. "Then explain why the pawn shop owner told Vanessa your name," he demanded. Those words hit me like a slap across the face. My heart started racing. Someone had used my name. But it wasn't me. 3 days before my mother took her last breath, she called me into her bedroom at the hospital. Her voice sounded so weak, but her eyes still looked sharp and clear. "Nina, baby," she whispered. "I need you to do something important for me." She reached under her pillow and pulled out a small purple velvet pouch. Her hands shook as she held it. "Take these," she said quietly. I looked inside the pouch. Several pieces of jewelry sparkled in the hospital lights. Her favorite pieces. "Why are you giving these to me?" I asked, confused. Mom glanced toward the closed door like she was worried someone might walk in. "Because Vanessa can't know about them yet," she said in an even quieter voice. That confused me even more. "Your sister has always struggled with money," Mom explained slowly. "And some of these pieces were promised to other people in the family." She handed me a folded piece of notebook paper. "This list explains where everything goes." I unfolded it carefully. The ruby ring for Aunt Joyce. The bracelet for my cousin Whitney. The pearls for the church charity auction. Don't give them out until after the big family meeting, Mom said. I want everything done the right way. I nodded and squeezed her hand. Okay, Mom. I promise. Mom squeezed my hand back weakly. I trust you, Nina, she whispered. You've always been the responsible one. Those were some of the last real words my mother ever spoke to me. And now, standing in my aunt's living room while Vanessa accused me of stealing from our dead mother, I finally understood something terrifying. If I revealed the truth too early, Vanessa would twist it into something ugly. She would say I manipulated Mom while she was dying. She would say I stole the jewelry and invented the whole story. So I stayed quiet for now, and let Vanessa keep digging her own hole deeper. My uncle crossed his arms. Which specific pieces are missing? He asked Vanessa. Vanessa listed them quickly like she had been preparing for this question. The pearl necklace, the ruby ring, the gold bracelet, and the diamond earrings. My aunt started crying harder. Those were Mom's most precious things, she said through her tears. Vanessa nodded sadly like she was the victim here. I know, she said softly. That's why this hurts so much. She looked directly at me. How could you do this, Nina? The room felt smaller with each passing second. Everyone kept glancing at me like I had transformed into a stranger they didn't recognize anymore. Vanessa sat down on the couch looking calm. Too calm. That bothered me more than her anger would have. If she really believed I had stolen from our mother, she should be screaming and crying and furious. But instead she looked confident and relaxed, like she had already planned how this whole evening would end. My cousin Whitney quietly moved closer to me. Did you really do it? She whispered in my ear. No, I said firmly. She studied my face carefully for a few long seconds. I believe you, she finally said. Those 3 words meant more to me than she could ever know. Across the room, Vanessa was talking loudly to my aunt. It breaks my heart, Vanessa said dramatically. Mom trusted Nina with everything. My uncle sighed heavily. Let's just wait for the pawn shop owner to arrive, he said. Everyone froze. What? I said out loud. Vanessa smiled slightly. I invited him here tonight, she announced proudly. He should arrive any minute now. My stomach dropped. You invited a pawn shop owner to our family meeting? My aunt asked surprised. Vanessa nodded. When he gets here, we'll finally hear the real truth. She looked straight at me again. Won't we, Nina? Every minute felt like an entire hour passing. The room stayed heavy with tension and uncomfortable silence. People whispered to each other in small groups. Nobody talked to me except Whitney, who sat beside me quietly offering silent support. Vanessa scrolled through her phone looking completely unbothered. That confidence worried me. Why was she so sure about what would happen tonight? My uncle paced back and forth near the window. My aunt kept dabbing her eyes with tissues. I kept thinking about the purple velvet pouch hidden safely in my apartment bedroom. The jewelry was still there, exactly where Mom had left it with me, completely untouched and safe. But Vanessa clearly believed the jewelry had been sold, which meant one of 2 things. Either someone had lied to her about seeing me at that pawn shop, or she had lied to everyone in this room. Then the doorbell rang. The sound cut through the silence like a knife. Vanessa jumped up from the couch immediately. That must be him, she said eagerly. She practically ran to the front door. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. The truth was about to walk into this room, and I had no idea what that truth would look like. Vanessa opened the door wide. A tall man in his 50s stepped inside carefully. He wore wire-rimmed glasses and carried a small brown leather folder under one arm. Good evening, everyone, he said politely. His voice was calm and professional. Vanessa gestured toward the crowded living room. This is Mr. Patterson, she announced to all of us. He owns Golden Gate Pawn Shop. Every eye in the room turned toward him. Mr. Patterson nodded politely at everyone. "Thank you for inviting me," he said. My uncle stepped forward and shook his hand. "We appreciate you coming on such short notice," my uncle said. Mr. Patterson looked around the room with a slightly confused expression on his face. Vanessa jumped in quickly before anyone else could speak. "We just need to clear something up," she said, pointing at me. "Did this woman sell jewelry to your shop last Tuesday?" The entire room seemed to stop breathing. Every head turned toward Mr. Patterson. He adjusted his glasses and looked at my face carefully. Then he frowned slightly. He said slowly. Vanessa leaned forward eagerly. "Yes? That's her, right?" Mr. Patterson tilted his head. "I'm not entirely sure," he said carefully. Vanessa blinked hard. "What do you mean you're not sure?" Mr. Patterson opened his brown leather folder calmly. "I see many customers every single day," he explained. "I would need to check my transaction records to be completely certain." Vanessa's confident smile flickered for just a second. "That's why you brought the folder," she said quickly, trying to sound sure again. Mr. Patterson nodded once. "Yes, I brought all the paperwork," he confirmed. The room leaned closer, like everyone was being pulled forward by invisible strings. "Everything should be documented inside," he added. Vanessa's hands trembled slightly, but she tried to hide it. My uncle spoke up. "Please, Mr. Patterson, check your records," he said. Mr. Patterson pulled out several papers and scanned them carefully. The only sound in the room was papers rustling. My cousin's baby started to fuss but was quickly quieted. Everyone waited. Vanessa crossed her arms again, but this time she looked nervous. Finally, Mr. Patterson looked up. "Yes," he said clearly. "We did receive jewelry last Tuesday afternoon." My aunt gasped loudly. Vanessa nodded like she had just won a victory. "And who was the seller?" My uncle asked the most important question. Mr. Patterson checked the form again. The seller signed the name Vanessa Carter. The entire room froze like someone had pressed pause on the world. Vanessa's confident smile disappeared completely. "What?" she said in a voice that sounded like someone choking. Mr. Patterson looked genuinely confused now. "That's the name written on the transaction paperwork," he said calmly. My uncle walked closer. "Are you absolutely certain?" he asked. Mr. Patterson slid the document across the coffee table. "There is the signature," he said, pointing. Everyone crowded around to look. Clear as day in black ink. Vanessa Carter. Vanessa's face turned completely white, like all the blood had drained out. "That's impossible," she stammered. "That can't be real." I slowly leaned back in my chair. "That's very strange," I said quietly. Vanessa spun toward me fast. "You did this," she shouted. "You forged my name." But Mr. Patterson wasn't finished talking yet. "Actually," he said calmly, "there's something else unusual about this situation." My uncle turned back toward him. "What do you mean?" Mr. Patterson closed the folder and folded his hands together. The jewelry she brought in turned out not to actually belong to her. And suddenly the entire energy in the room completely shifted. The accusations that had been pointing at me like arrows suddenly swung around toward Vanessa. Vanessa shook her head frantically. "That's not what happened," she said desperately. Mr. Patterson looked at her with calm professional eyes. "You attempted to sell a pearl necklace and 2 rings," he stated simply. "Is that correct?" Vanessa swallowed hard. My uncle stepped closer to her. "Vanessa, what is he talking about?" he demanded. Mr. Patterson continued speaking in that same calm voice. "Our shop has strict policies," he explained. "We require valid identification for every single transaction." Vanessa's eyes went wide. "So?" she said weakly. "So we made a photocopy of your driver's license," Mr. Patterson said. My aunt gasped again. The room filled with shocked murmurs. Vanessa looked around desperately like she was searching for someone to help her. "This is insane," she said. "You can't believe this." But Mr. Patterson kept talking. "When I carefully examined the jewelry, I noticed something engraved inside the pearl clasp," he said. Everyone leaned forward again. Whitney whispered, "What was it?" Mr. Patterson smiled slightly. It said Margaret Carter, 1985. Our mother's full name. Our mother's birth year. The room fell into complete silence again. Vanessa's hands started shaking, and I could see the truth starting to crack her story apart piece by piece. Mr. Patterson wasn't done revealing everything yet. "When I asked where you obtained the jewelry," he continued, "you told me it was your inheritance." Vanessa stared at the floor, unable to meet anyone's eyes. "So I explained something important to you," Mr. Patterson said. "What?" my uncle asked. Mr. Patterson leaned forward slightly. "I told you that selling family heirlooms often causes serious problems later," he said, "and that family members frequently report items as stolen." Vanessa's breathing became faster and shallower. "That's when you became very upset," Mr. Patterson added. "And then what happened?" my aunt asked quietly. "She grabbed the jewelry and rushed out of my shop," he said. The entire room turned to stare at Vanessa. Slowly. Silently. Like watching a car crash happen in slow motion. My uncle spoke first. "Vanessa," he said in a deadly quiet voice. "Why would you bring Mom's jewelry to a pawn shop?" Vanessa's voice came out barely above a whisper. "I didn't," she tried to say. But Mr. Patterson shook his head. "But you did," he said gently but firmly. He opened his folder again and pulled out another paper. "Here is the transaction record with the timestamp," he said. Vanessa stared at it like it might catch fire. My cousin's husband stood up. "That signature is literally in your handwriting, Vanessa," he said, pointing. Vanessa looked completely trapped now. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape that didn't exist. "Marcus must have forced me," she suddenly shouted. "Wait. Who was Marcus?" The room went completely silent. "Who is Marcus?" my aunt asked, confused. Vanessa's face went even paler as she realized her mistake. "I meant Nina," she said quickly. "Nina forced me." But the damage was already done. Nobody believed her anymore. I almost laughed out loud. "I wasn't even there," I said calmly. Mr. Patterson nodded in agreement. "That is absolutely correct," he confirmed. Vanessa spun toward him. "What?" she said desperately. "You came to my shop completely alone," Mr. Patterson said. "And after I refused to purchase the items, you seemed extremely upset and agitated." Vanessa's breathing got even shakier. My aunt crossed her arms tightly. "Vanessa," she said in a hurt voice, "why did you accuse Nina of this?" Vanessa looked around at every face in the room. Everyone was staring at her now. Not at me anymore. At her. And the elaborate story she had built was collapsing right in front of the entire family. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. "There is one more thing I should mention," he said. Vanessa looked like she might actually faint right there. "Our shop has security cameras installed," he explained. My cousin Whitney sat up straighter. "You recorded the whole thing?" she asked. "Yes," Mr. Patterson said simply. Vanessa whispered, "No, please no." Mr. Patterson nodded seriously. "The footage very clearly shows Vanessa entering with the jewelry," he said. My uncle rubbed his face with both hands. "Why would you do something like this?" he asked Vanessa. Vanessa just shook her head, unable to form words. "You told me you needed money urgently," Mr. Patterson added. "You said it was an emergency." My aunt's eyes went wide. "For what emergency?" she demanded. Vanessa stayed completely silent. The room waited. Nobody moved. Nobody even seemed to breathe. Finally Vanessa whispered one single word. "Debt." Whitney frowned. "How much debt?" she asked. Vanessa looked up slowly with tears streaming down her face now. $40,000, she admitted. The room absolutely exploded with shocked gasps and angry voices. My uncle stared at her in complete disbelief. You tried to sell Mom's jewelry to pay off $40,000, he said. Vanessa didn't answer. And for the first time all evening, nobody was looking at me like the villain anymore. I stood up slowly for the first time all night. Every single eye followed me as I rose. I think it's time I explain something, I said clearly. Vanessa glared at me with pure hatred. Don't you dare, she hissed. But my uncle raised his hand. Let Nina speak, he said firmly. I took a slow deep breath. 3 days before Mom died, she gave me her jewelry. The room gasped collectively. Vanessa's head snapped toward me. You're lying, she screamed. I shook my head calmly. She told me not to distribute anything until after the family meeting, I continued. I reached into my jacket pocket. My fingers found the folded piece of notebook paper Mom had given me. I have her handwritten instructions right here, I said. My aunt took the paper from me with trembling hands. Her eyes scanned Mom's familiar handwriting. Then she started crying all over again. It's definitely her writing, she whispered through tears. This is real. Vanessa looked like someone had just punched her in the stomach. She gave it all to you, she said in a tiny voice. Yes, I said. But why? Vanessa asked. I looked straight at her. Because Mom was worried about exactly this situation. I told everyone everything. About the hospital room conversation. About the purple velvet pouch Mom had given me. About her asking me to wait until the family meeting. About the detailed list of who should receive each piece. Everyone listened carefully. Even Vanessa stopped interrupting. The jewelry isn't missing, I said clearly. It's safe in my apartment. Whitney wiped tears from her eyes. So nothing was actually sold, she asked hopefully. Nothing, I confirmed. Mr. Patterson nodded. That matches exactly what I witnessed, he said. My uncle let out a long breath of relief. Vanessa slowly sank down onto the couch. She looked completely defeated now. So when you tried to pawn Mom's jewelry, I said to Vanessa, where did you get those pieces? She covered her face with both hands. I thought you had already taken everything, she admitted quietly. So I went to Mom's house and found a few pieces you must have missed. The room went silent again. You thought I stole it first, I said. Vanessa nodded weakly. So you tried to sell whatever was left before anyone noticed. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. My uncle shook his head slowly. You accused your own sister to hide what you tried to do, he said. Vanessa's shoulders shook as she started crying. My aunt looked at Mom's handwritten list again. She divided everything so carefully, she said softly. She wanted it to be completely fair. I nodded. That's exactly what Mom wanted, I agreed. Vanessa looked up slowly. What about me? She asked in a small voice. Did she leave me anything? I hesitated. My uncle noticed. What does the list say about Vanessa? He asked me. I took the paper back and found the right line. My heart hurt reading it. Well, Vanessa said desperately. My uncle read over my shoulder. Then his eyebrows lifted high. Oh, he said quietly. Vanessa leaned forward. What is it? My uncle cleared his throat. Mom left you her wedding ring, he told her. Vanessa's face showed relief for a brief moment. And there's a note, my uncle added. Vanessa frowned. What does the note say? My uncle read it out loud slowly. Vanessa, please learn to stop chasing quick money. Family is worth so much more than you realize. The room became completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Vanessa stared at the floor as fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. Mom had known. Even before she died, Mom had seen this coming. And somehow she had still tried to protect both of us. Mr. Patterson stood up quietly. "I believe my part here is finished," he said politely. My uncle shook his hand again. "Thank you so much for coming," my uncle said sincerely. Mr. Patterson smiled kindly. "I'm very glad the truth came out," he said. Before leaving, he looked directly at Vanessa. "Next time you need money," he said gently, "ask your family for help first." Then he walked out the front door. It closed softly behind him. The room felt completely different now. The anger had faded away. But something else remained hanging in the air. Disappointment. Deep disappointment. Vanessa wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to everyone. Nobody responded right away. The silence stretched out long and uncomfortable. Finally, my uncle spoke. "Being sorry is just the first step," he said seriously. "Now comes the hard part of fixing what you broke." Vanessa nodded slowly. But we all knew the truth. She hadn't just tried to steal jewelry. She had tried to destroy my reputation. She had accused me in front of our entire family. And that kind of damage takes a very long time to repair. Trust breaks in seconds. But rebuilding it takes years. The next morning, everyone met at my small apartment. I placed the purple velvet pouch on my kitchen table. Vanessa stared at it like it was something fragile and precious. Which it was. Inside were the pieces Mom had trusted me to protect. Untouched. Safe. Exactly the way she had left them with me. My aunt carefully opened the pouch with shaking hands. The pearl necklace caught the morning sunlight streaming through my window. Whitney gasped softly. "They are so beautiful," she whispered. Vanessa stayed completely quiet. One by one, we followed Mom's handwritten list exactly. The ruby ring went to Aunt Joyce, who cried when she put it on. The gold bracelet went to Whitney, who promised to treasure it forever. The diamond earrings went to the church for their charity auction like Mom wanted. And finally, the wedding ring. I picked it up gently and placed it in Vanessa's open palm. She stared at it for a long time without saying anything. "I don't deserve this," she finally said quietly. "Nobody really deserves forgiveness," I said honestly. "But sometimes we get it anyway." Vanessa looked up at me. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. "I'm so sorry I accused you, Nina," she said. I nodded slowly. "I know you are." After everyone else left my apartment, Vanessa stayed behind. She stood near my window holding Mom's wedding ring in her palm. The afternoon sun made the gold band glow. "I almost destroyed everything," she said quietly to the window. I leaned against my kitchen counter. "You didn't destroy everything," I replied. "But you came very close." Vanessa sighed heavily. "I genuinely thought you had taken the jewelry," she said. I completely panicked. "That doesn't explain why you accused me in front of everyone," I said. She nodded slowly. "I know," she admitted. "That was wrong." For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she said something that surprised me. "I was terrified," she confessed. "Of what?" I asked. "That my gambling debt would come out in the open," she said. $40,000 wasn't something you could hide forever. And blaming me felt easier than admitting the truth. I asked. Vanessa rubbed her forehead. "I didn't think it would go that far," she said. "I thought you would just quietly give back the jewelry and nobody would ask too many questions." "But it did go that far," I said. She looked at me with regret in her eyes. "You barely defended yourself," she noticed. I shrugged. I knew the truth would show up eventually. 2 nights later, my uncle called another family meeting. This time the atmosphere felt calmer. We gathered in the same living room where all the accusations had happened. But now the air felt lighter somehow. My uncle cleared his throat. "We need to discuss Vanessa's debt situation," he said seriously. Vanessa kept her head down. "I'll handle it myself," she said quickly. Aunt Joyce shook her head. "You're still family, Vanessa," she said firmly. Vanessa looked surprised. You're not angry at me anymore, she asked. Whitney spoke up. Oh, we're definitely still angry, she said honestly. But that doesn't mean we abandon you completely. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears again. I don't deserve any help from you, she said. My cousin's husband leaned forward. Mom always used to say that families work through problems together, he reminded everyone. That made several people smile sadly. Mom's voice still echoed through our family even after she was gone. My uncle pulled out a small notebook. We can help with part of your debt, he said. But there will be very strict rules. Vanessa nodded eagerly. Anything, she agreed immediately. First rule, my uncle said firmly. Absolutely no more gambling. Vanessa agreed without hesitation. And second, he continued, Nina will manage the repayment plan. Vanessa looked at me. I saw my real sister in that moment. Not the desperate person from that terrible night. Okay, she said quietly. Trust doesn't return overnight. Even when people apologize sincerely. Over the next several weeks, Vanessa worked harder than I had ever seen her work before. She sold her expensive car. She picked up extra shifts at her job. And every single week, she sent money toward paying off her debt. Our family helped guide her too. Not by paying everything for her, but by teaching her how to manage money properly. Sometimes Vanessa would call me late at night. I almost placed a bet today, she admitted during one call. But I stopped myself. That's real progress, I told her. Another time she called just to talk about Mom. Do you think Mom somehow knew this would happen? She asked me. I thought about that question carefully. Mom had always understood people better than anyone else I knew. She probably knew you were struggling, I said gently. Vanessa stayed quiet for a moment. I wish I had asked her for help when she was alive, she said sadly. I looked at Mom's wedding ring sitting on my shelf. Mom had trusted both of us. In different ways. And maybe this entire painful situation had finally forced Vanessa to face the truth she had been running from for years. About a month after everything happened, Vanessa asked me to go somewhere with her. We drove across town in silence. When we finally stopped, I recognized the place immediately. Golden Gate Pawn Shop. You want to go inside? I asked, surprised. Vanessa nodded. I owe someone a proper apology, she said. The bell above the door rang as we entered. Mr. Patterson looked up from behind his counter. Oh, he said with a small smile. I remember both of you. Vanessa stepped forward bravely. I came to apologize for what happened, she said clearly. Mr. Patterson folded his arms gently. I figured the situation was complicated, he said kindly. It was very complicated, Vanessa admitted. But you helped stop me from making an even bigger mistake. Mr. Patterson nodded. That's part of my job, he said simply. Vanessa placed a small envelope on the counter. What is this? He asked. A thank you, she said. Mr. Patterson pushed it back toward her. I can't accept any money, he said. It's not money, Vanessa explained. Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter. Mr. Patterson read it slowly and carefully. When he finished, he smiled warmly. Well, he said, this is worth much more than cash anyway. We thanked him and left. Nearly 1 full year after that terrible night, Vanessa made her final debt payment. She called me the second she finished. It's done, Nina, she said. Her voice sounded lighter than I had heard in many months. We met at my aunt's house where everything had started. Our whole family gathered again. But this time everyone wore smiles instead of angry frowns. Vanessa held up the final receipt proudly. No more debt, she announced to everyone. The entire room applauded. My uncle shook her hand firmly. You earned this, he said with pride. Vanessa looked directly at me. Thank you for not giving up on me, she said sincerely. I shrugged. That's what sisters do, I said simply. She laughed. You're incredibly patient, she said. Someone had to be, I replied with a smile. Vanessa raised her glass. To second chances, she said. Everyone raised their glasses together. And for the first time since Mom had passed away, the house felt truly full again. Not with grief and sadness, but with something much stronger. Hope. And family. If there's one thing I learned from everything that happened, it's simple. Truth doesn't always shout loudly. Sometimes it just walks quietly through the door. That night, Truth walked in wearing glasses and carrying a brown leather folder. A pawn shop owner. An ordinary man who had absolutely no idea he was about to change our entire family's story forever. Vanessa thought she had complete control of the situation. She thought she had built the perfect accusation against me. But lies are like houses built on sand. Eventually something comes along that shakes the ground. For our family, it was Mr. Patterson and his records. For other families, it might be time itself. Or evidence that surfaces. Or simply a question nobody can answer. But truth always arrives eventually. And when it finally does arrive, everything changes completely. That night changed my sister Vanessa forever. It changed our entire family. And it taught me something I will never forget. You don't always need to fight against a lie. Sometimes all you really need to do is wait patiently. Wait for the truth to walk into the room. Because truth always shows up. Always.